Welcome to Movie and a Beer, everybody. This is Dan Kopersky bringing us in. And on today's episode of Movie and a Beer, we are going to be chatting about a crazy-ass movie from the 70s called Wizards. And in order to do that, we have three wonderful friends and co-hosts here to allow this wonderful episode to occur.
I'm the resident magic expert, Aaron. Happy to be here with you.
The Gathering magic, too.
Nice. I tap a green mana to introduce myself. I am Blake, the animation expert, and I know more about magic than you, Aaron.
You maybe.
Just the Gathering.
And I am Brian Richard. Tonight's movie is one of my favorite movies, and I also know a lot about the director, Ralph Bakshi.
Wow.
Did you go to school with him, too?
I did not.
Okay, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, no, it's cool. So,
However, I did work with an editor who worked with Ralph Bakshi. He was a PA in New York long ago.
wow.
That's dope.
That's like a long time ago. Because this film came out in 77, which I believe is the same year as Star Wars, right?
It's a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes.
A 1977 film starring Mark Hamill.
Yes.
Who?
And Mark Hamill also happens to
Jim the
voice.
Vampire, of course.
Yes. There's some interesting crossovers with this movie and some other films. But we also had three different beers. Well, the idea was, hey, we were going to watch this great film. And I said, hey, do we want to do technology or magic? Because that's what this film is about is, can you use your imagination in technology or your imagination in magic, and who's going to win?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Also, the effects of technology on the land and the people wielding it versus magic.
Yeah.
True.
We had three really interesting beers to sample. Yep. The first one, magically, was a beer without gluten. So gluten-free. It was a magic pre-prohibition style porter, which is, it was all right.
May I say inconceivable?
Inconceivable. And then the second one was, and I probably some of the listeners here know that, Guinness is this wonderful beer that's always served out of a nitro can or bottle, if not on draft in nitro or partial nitro or on cask. We happened to come across an ESB made here locally that is nitro out of the can, which is magic.
Dark magic.
Really dark magic, because I have no idea how the hell they
Too
do
much technology.
Nitro magic.
They tap black
Yes.
mana for that one.
And then the third one, which some of us are still sipping on, which we kind of got late in the movie because we didn't realize it was only like an hour and 7 minutes long.
Yeah,
It's
we
a short
paused
movie.
it, and Aaron and I said, "Yeah, it was like 20 minutes left." 7?
Yeah, we're
that's
like,
way
let's
less
bust
than
out
we
that
thought.
last beer.
It was an hour and 20 minutes for the
Yes.
length of the movie.
Well, with credits, open and end credits, it's not a lot.
All right.
This third beer, which is from also another local brewery called Hop Massive, is only 3.3%, but
So
tastes like a
it's-
giant, juicy IPA.
So I was going to say, so it's not an IPA.
It's not an IPA.
It's an IPA.
It's an IPA. It's low calorie, very, very low grain, but with a whole lot of hops.
I can't believe it's not IPA.
Correct.
It has a lot of flavor
It
for
does.
a small beer.
Big things come in small packages.
Like Avatar the Wizard.
Yes.
He was little and had no shoes.
Correct. So,
He's also my favorite character.
But he also had a big tower.
he had a very big
Wink, wink.
tower.
He did.
Wink, wink, nudge,
He did.
nudge. This 1977 animated film called The Wizards. It's about a good wizard trying to defeat his evil brother who is trying to use old technology.
Like World War II Nazi Germany technology.
Yeah.
But he discovers these old propaganda films and these old typewriters and these old turntables.
Projectors, pinball machines were in there. That religious, that church.
I suppose
Yes.
we do need to back up. Like the frame story is that the world explodes for unknown reasons.
Millions of years ago.
And 2 million years ago.
Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, and
Lightning
over these
sound
2 million
effect.
years, there's radiation that changes humanity into these denizens of
Mutants.
into yittens.
Mutants.
Basically
and-
D&D characters, but,
Okay,
we
yeah.
yeah,
digress.
more like Gamma World, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, like elves.
We should play Gamma World, guys. I have a copy.
Yeah. So there was like a lizard walking around with hooves, and I was very
Yes.
confused.
I liked that. That was cool.
There were like two-legged dogs that they rode.
Fun fact about those two-legged horses, as the IMDb puts it, they had 2 legs because it was easier to animate and cheaper.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they gave them 2, because fewer legs to work on.
They
Brian-
did have a distinct coconut cadence when they walked around. I will
Yes.
say.
It was,
Yeah.
it was very coconutty.
Brian, do you have any idea why they were trying to save money?
Okay, so from my understanding, what happened with this film was they got about halfway through animating it, And the studio said, I'm not giving you more money. So Ralph Bakshi, the director, had to come up with some very inventive ways to save money and finish telling a story. And one of the things he did was rotoscoping, which is where you paint over existing film. So he used shots from old newsreels. He used shots from El Cid. He used shots from Zulu and 3 or 4 other films. And I thought he did it to great effect.
He did.
Fantastically creative, really well done. Yeah.
Another thing he had to do, which became obvious, was part of his story. He had to have an artist, Mike Plug, draw back plates and then kind of narrate different parts of the story over the back plates.
I love that narrator.
Yeah,
She's terrific.
Yeah, a great combination of different animation styles and approaches, and basically like collaging different things together to tell an interesting story. And I think you did a really good job.
I think that is correct.
Oh, yeah.
I enjoy the fact that it is a typical, as Blake might say, a hero's journey.
Yeah, frankly, if you were to
Well,
describe...
Joseph Campbell says hero's journey, but I'll hold off for another episode.
Yeah,
I think if you were to describe all of the different techniques used, all of the different approaches and aesthetics used, if you were to just tell me about it, I would imagine something, and in my imagination, it would not work. But this did. It kind of, I pulled together. It was cohesive. It was well done, and there was, I think, a compelling story with interesting characters.
And it wasn't necessarily anti-Nazi. It just used that as the bad guys because it was an easy thing to do.
Yeah, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about like 1977, 30 years before, like Nazism was still relatively fresh.
Yeah.
And if we were to say, okay, 30 years from now, like it's as though like Hitler would have been in the 90s, it would have been.
It was definitely a reaction on both World War I and World War II, but it was also a critique of the recently finished Vietnam War.
Shit, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, okay, the basic theme of the film was technology versus magic.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But it's also technology versus a lesser armed opponent, which was
Yeah.
America's experience in Vietnam.
Yeah, that's right.
And
What-
this came out in
severely
1977. The Vietnam War ended in 74, which is probably right around when Bakshi was pitching the film
Yeah.
to studios.
Animation takes a while to make, kids.
There weren't a lot of animators listed either in the credits. I was like, wow, there's like 6 animators and then like 5 or 6 assistant animators. I'm like, wow, and this was all hand done.
Right. It's hand animated, not computer animated,
Correct.
which is what we do today, which fits into the theme.
Yes.
Technology versus art.
Yes, very much
Technology
I like
versus
that.
heart.
There is something though too about living sustainably and kind of in accordance with nature in a relationship with nature versus this path of technology that leads you into greed, leads you into continuing to grasp for more, leads you into trying to conquer the whole known world.
Well, I feel bad because the contrast in the scenery for these two, that I kept commenting, it looks like an H.R. Geiger piece. And Aaron, you said like an M.C. Escher castle. The evil area looked super cool, but stark and depressing.
Yeah.
And then Avatar's area, the nice nature, pure land, kind of featureless, but it was nice. It wasn't crowded. It wasn't cluttered.
Point of this was really illustrated well in a climactic scene in this desolate setting. Our hero Avatar just says it looks too dreary, and he starts magically making flowers as he's being carried down the pathway.
Yes, very much so. One of the things I thought was interesting, 3/4 of the way through on their journey to the Scorch and the castle, get captured by a subset of fairies called mountain fairies, and they do not like anyone. So it's like if you imagine the mindset or the frame of the world during World War II, you have countries who I don't like anybody. I don't want to deal with anybody. We're on our own.
We're going to
separate.
stay neutral. We're not
Yes.
going to pick sides.
And I thought that was really interesting how they kind of portrayed that. And then the king's decision is, you go on your way. We don't want anything to do with it. We're just going to stand back and watch it happen.
He was very specific about it, too.
Yeah,
We will not hinder. We will not help. We will remain neutral. And they sat down. They were gone.
Yeah, it sounds very much like, I don't know, some of the countries during World War II. That
Like
did
Switzerland?
Yeah.
That. Yeah.
That's the one I thought of.
Very
Let's
interesting.
talk about Eleanor and her outfit.
So Eleanor is the princess, soon to now be
Part fairy, Fairy in Training. What was it?
I think she was young.
Fairy
She
in
was just
training.
young.
She had
Right, she
her
wasn't
magical
full-fledged.
powers hadn't fully developed.
Her
yet.
G
She was
string
not yet
wasn't
a
complete.
woman.
Her G string was not yet complete because literally she's running around in a G string and like really skimpy thingy, and I'm just like, wow, okay.
Kids' films were different, man.
I'm telling you, this is not okay.
my-
So
it's
let's,
why even
let's step
isn't
back
really
for
a
a
kid's
second.
film.
Violence, not a lot of foul language, no nudity per se,
There was Nazi propaganda.
but a lot of Nazi propaganda going on.
Yeah.
So not necessarily for young kids because they wouldn't know what the hell
This
that is.
film was not pro-Nazi though.
It was
Correct.
not.
No,
It
no,
represented
correct.
Nazis as the
Evil.
evil other.
Yeah.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Black Wolf using it as a tool to motivate his troops of evil mutants, or just
to manipulate.
misguided mutants, and
To manipulate.
yeah,
To shock and awe.
They felt like fanboys towards the end of the film when they're wearing the gear. I'm like, it looks like that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where Charlie finds some Nazi gear and just wearing it around the bar. Like, it's cool, dude. It looks cool. Like, no, it doesn't.
No, it's not.
It looks bad.
Right.
So Eleanor is running around, and her father gets killed, who is the president of part of the free world.
That was a very specific.
Even though he looks like a puppet slash
Yeah.
clown slash
Like
marionette.
I was
Yeah.
getting marionette vibes.
Well, everyone, it's magic. When you get born in that world, you're what did they say? Like you're more likely
you're
to
either
be a
mutant or
mess.
human. Yeah.
What were those masks that doctors wore, like during the Black Death?
The Black
Oh, the-
Plague. mask.
of
Yeah.
the plague mask.
Yeah, plague
the
doctor.
president
Kind of
was
looked
wearing
like
a
that.
president was
Yeah.
wearing a plague mask.
Eleanor was very sexy. Probably this wouldn't be accepted today.
Right.
No.
Not even a little bit.
No, it was totally like if you imagine heavy metal, like
Exploitive.
the very
Yeah.
exploitive. We're just, and most of the female characters that are portrayed in this are all of that same visual, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
approach.
And I would say
Voluptuous.
this is a problem with Bakshi's work.
Yeah,
I mean, he did Cool World.
He really.
He did Fritz the Cat.
God, I haven't
Those are
seen Cool World
kind
in
of
a
the
long
bookends
time.
on both ends of this film. His portrayal of women, I wouldn't say is acceptable.
it's very
today.
not
dated.
positive, not empowering. But
Dude liked what he liked.
yes.
And it was a voluptuous woman.
He had his
Correction, a voluptuous fairy elf.
Yeah, we couldn't quite tell if she was elf or fairy, and then the whole thing is as part of as they're traveling across the lands, you hear that there's there's little fairies that come and mess with them, and they go to the fairy kingdom, and then there's elves that they meet at the end to help with the battle. And the wizard is just not having it. He's not having it. He's just like, screw this. I just want to go take care of this.
Do my
not
mission.
in the world. Do my mission.
Yeah.
Save the world.
Yeah, I will say I've
Like wizards
never
do.
seen a movie exactly like this, and I mean that as a compliment. Like I've never seen anything quite like this. It did call to mind a little bit of like The Hobbit. This mission, Lord of the Rings trilogy. Like there's a mission, and I was thinking of what's the like the Leonard Nimoy Hobbit movie.
Oh, right.
It just had this like hippie sort of flair to it, where they're dancing around and
Felt very
bell-bottoms.
Flower Child.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe too.
The Return of the King
Maybe.
by Rankin Bass.
I don't know.
It feels like
Everyone's
I
getting their
think it's
phone
right.
out looking really quick.
Yeah, what's the Leonard Nimoy Hobbit?
Well,
movie?
while Aaron looks that up, I want to talk briefly about the voice work.
Yeah.
Because
Sure.
I love voice acting. I think it's all like it's been fascinating since I was a kid. And not in a knock on the movie, but I told Brian, it feels like some of these actors got one go at their lines and they took it,
Yes.
which I kind of like. I like that grungy guerrilla style recording. Like, we got to get this done. We have a day. And just boom, 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 getting the lines. The only problem is some of it didn't quite match the tone a little bit. Weehawk felt like he got one go at all of his lines, but I love the voice actor. And then the Peter Falkian good wizard was terrific.
he was
Yeah.
definitely Columbo.
And the narrator was very good.
Oh yeah, love
Her,
her.
her
Loved
voice
her.
was fantastic.
But I love these this era of animation where it feels like they didn't quite have all the tech down. They didn't quite figure out the best way to record. At this point, I think most of the animation was like Looney Tunes and Disney.
Right.
Even that sounds like a little tinny, a little bit scratchy. But I just really like that sound.
Hanna-Barbera
Exactly.
was, I think, even after all this, right? Like Hanna-Barbera, is that right? Like 80 and 83?
60s. Scooby-Doo came out in the 60s, I think.
Was it? Okay. I was
Yeah.
thinking like He-Man. And like,
I mean,
Hanna-Barbera
their later
was
stuff was
around,
also, yeah.
Okay.
But as far as feature-length animation,
Yeah.
it was Disney and nothing else.
John Bluth didn't come along till the 80s and 90s.
Yeah,
All
I mean-
Dogs Go to Heaven, Land Before Time, late 80s, early 90s.
and then I suppose, Pixar was probably even 20 years after that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
90s to 2000 for
Toy Story was Toy Story the
Toy
first
Story
one?
was the first one.
Yeah.
That was the big deal. Everyone's like, whoa, you made a cartoon movie with a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Toy Story was 1996.
1996, man. I remember the Buzz Lightyear toys at Toys R Us. Like, they were a hot item. back
They
then.
were very cool.
So it was a correction, though. It was not. It was Leonard Nimoy. Apparently, it was a full album, and the Ballad of Bilbo Baggins
Yes.
was a song on this album.
Oh,
There is
that's what
a,
we're thinking.
a
Okay.
music video
Yes.
where Leonard Nimoy is dancing, and I will encourage listeners to Google this. It is worth seeking out.
Really enjoyed the voice work. On voice work, Mr. Bakshi voiced Fritz, who gets quote unquote killed and then actually shot.
Spoilers.
Lard
Spoiler.
Bottom and a stormtrooper.
Yeah, they had some dudes who had gas masks for helmets, but like human bodies, but only like either 3 or 4 fingers. So they were like
Oh, I
humanoid.
didn't notice the fingers. I always forget
Yeah,
to
no,
look at
no one
fingers.
had 5 fingers.
I always
It was
forget
either
to look
3
at
or
fingers.
4. I was like, oh yeah, they're doing the 4-finger thing because it's a lot easier to draw 4 instead of 5.
If you're not going to draw 4 limbs on a horse, you might as well not draw all 5 fingers.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly. So I think it was really interesting how they called out the assassin as a robot. But was he a robot?
Necron 99?
Yes.
Necron 99 was, in fact, brainwashed. So how do you
was.
brainwash
Well, when they
a
stabbed him, he
robot?
deflated.
Yeah.
Oh,
and that's
was he
what
a-
I'm saying. I'm like, it does. I have no idea.
Part robot, part balloon?
Part magic.
The most terrifying creature ever. Part robot, part balloon, all horror. Coming this summer, Balloon Bot.
Well, this is also a kind of a standard trope in films. Is a robot really human? Like in Blade Runner,
A HAL
are
9000.
Yeah.
are replicants real? Are they human?
I'm
Just
sorry,
because
Dave.
they're manufactured, are
Or,
they not?
or Cylons in the Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Bender B. Rodriguez.
Yes. Which the red assassin does look a little like Bender from the backside.
There's a resemblance there.
Yeah, there's a
Little
little bit.
backside. I caught you. I see what you did there. I loved it. I saw the visual of Necron 99 on his horse in some game shop ages ago. Because when Dan and Brian told me about the movie, I thought this sounds vaguely familiar, and I saw the image of him like slouching, look at the viewer, like I've seen this image. Where have I seen this image before?
It's out there.
And the I shot Fritz scene, or
Yeah,
they,
and
they
the-
shot
and the-
Fritz
and the-
scene.
yeah, and the
that is
the visual.
that is in pop culture.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They shot Fritz. Those dirty, stinking fairies. Those yellow fairies. They shot Fritz. And then
classic
he-
laser sounds.
And then he shoots his friend Fritz.
Hey,
Yes.
hey, I'm okay, man. Oh, I'm trying to get my medals here, man.
Man, you stepped on my lines.
Yeah, you stepped on my line. So I also noticed that at least some of
So good.
there's just, I mean, it's not just the portrayal of, I wouldn't say races, but just like the religious aspect of it. We noticed, there's a scene where they're interrogating 2 obvious rabbis because they start doing the whole like very,
Oh, because they're sitting in front of the CBS eye. Good eye, Aaron.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seemed like, did they really have to do that? Did they really have to spend 10 minutes with the scene of these 2 rabbis dancing around and banging each other with a board? And
I think
pouring water on themselves?
Ralph had that animated before the studio came down on him.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna have all the time and money in the world. Let's just do this whole scene.
Because it really didn't add anything to the movie, but I'm just like,
I had a good time.
it was
Well,
fun
I
to
mean,
watch, but
As part of the 60s feel, I think that was a critique of religion. I mean, there's a critique of war,
I
a
can see that.
critique of society, a critique of religion. I mean, and the idea was that the evil armies had captured all these people. Let's go talk to the church and see what they want done with these people.
yeah.
And instead of actually helping the people, the priests stood there and prayed, did a lot. They paddled each other on the butt. They hung at each other on the cross.
They watered each other with
They
water.
watered
They
each
watered
other.
each other with watering cans.
right.
They spoke in Yiddish. And at the end of the day, it went on so long they never helped anyone, and the bad guys killed everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, let's just shoot everybody. Yeah.
So
It'd be cool-
critique of a religion.
Yeah.
That's what I say that was.
You know what I missed in this movie? I really wish they had anybody drinking any kind of beer.
Yeah. There's only a few
Everyone's
scenes.
stone cold sober, dog.
Yeah, they are. There's a few scenes where there's food involved, but not many.
No, Avatar drinks wine.
He
in
drinks wine at the
several
very
different-
beginning.
You're right.
Yeah,
I totally forgot
several
about
different
that.
scenes.
And
Yeah,
smokes a cigar.
He smokes a cigar
Well,
with
yeah.
his foot.
He's with his foot.
He
He
did
snaps
everything
his
with his foot.
fingers, and he doesn't have any bones, as you said. You know, the animation style looks like they're just like rubber.
I think with all the magic Avatar has, his hands are really dangerous weapons, so he probably tries to avoid using them.
That's why he wears gloves.
Yeah.
I love a classic gloved male in a cartoon.
Well, both brothers wore gloves.
Just like Mickey Mouse.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse.
Which I heard somewhere they did so you could tell where the hands were compared to all the other black and white happening. I don't know if it's true or not, but I could see it.
That sounds right.
Way to show the distinctive motions.
Yes.
Well, we got our hands on 3 different beers.
There we
We
go.
did.
That's the
That's
segue.
the segue.
Thank
There's
you.
the segue.
I set it up. You knocked it
We
down.
did. As we've mentioned in the past, we either know what we're watching ahead of time and pick some beers out, or we pick the beers out and figure out what we're going to watch. And this time around was the previous. We knew what we were going to watch. And it was like magic or technology. So I found beers that kind of have both a little bit.
Although you could really pitch technology for any beer. Like, ooh, the technology of brewing.
Yes, magic of science.
Refrigeration technology.
Refrigeration is magic. You do know that.
Beepity,
Right?
beepity,
It's
beepity,
not
beepity,
really
beep.
cold. It's just a lack of heat.
It is.
Dan
yeah.
K, the science gay.
All right. So the first one that we had is a pre-prohibition style porter from Mutantis Brewing here in Portland, and it is a gluten-free porter. Now, people say, well, what the hell does that mean?
What the hell does that mean?
So it was brewed with water, malted corn, malted rice, candy syrup or beet sugar, and then they boiled it with some hops because it did have a little bit of hop to it.
Hold on. There's no gluten in water?
No, but they did also use
Water's a gluten-free product.
They used a gluten-free
Dang it.
dry yeast. Now, the beer had a very interesting flavor profile. A friend of ours, we did some tastings at the brewery the other day and said, it tastes like tangy or almost sour. And I would agree, like the darker beers that this place produces are a little bit closer to the beer styles because you're trying to replicate what a malt profile is without using malts. So
You guys
you're
were
just
telling me the other
making up
night.
stuff.
I'm not saying for listeners don't avoid this, but you were recommending for me to hold off on the light beers and try the dark ones first.
Yeah, do the dark
Okay,
ones first because
okay.
they're going to taste more like the actual like beer. They're lighter. The brewery, no, I applauded them. I was like, man, you guys are trying to make a whole bunch of different styles of beer.
Something for
They had
everybody.
A Kolsch, a Pilsner, a Pale Ale, a couple of juicy IPAs, all light, and none of them tasted like beer. You tasted like sort of maybe like beer, near beer kind of thing, but
beer
not really
adjacent.
beer,
Well,
beer adjacent.
If I have a gluten like dietary restriction though, and most of the beer world is locked away from me,
Yes.
I'm gonna approach that. I'm gonna drink it, and I'm gonna like get on my knees to praise heaven.
Drink the
Yeah,
crap
yeah.
out of it.
Yeah, I'm gonna drink the crap out of it
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
it's delicious. I would describe it as beer adjacent, but if your palate is foreign to beer because you've got a gluten dietary restriction, you're not going to notice.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like,
This is beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a 5.3% ABV and 25 IBU. And I would agree with Aaron. If it's something that is approachable to you because of dietary restrictions or just for whatever reason, you'd like to try it. The location also has a refrigerator unit that they have sitting out in their sitting area that does have that has their own that they've canned. And then they have bottles from other breweries and some cans from other breweries that are also gluten-free.
That refrigeration, though, that's just a lack of heat.
It is just a lack of heat. They have a space that has no heat. So, and they sell it in these giant kind of oil can looking dealios, and it was interesting. I was like, "Is this?"
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was-
It looked like motor oil.
It
Yeah.
looked like a motor oil can.
I
an
mean,
old
I
school
was
one.
frozen in place and asking for oil can, but nobody helped out. I was just stuck in the field
I
until
know.
the kid and that scarecrow came along.
Yeah, we're gonna. Oil
There we
you
go.
up. Yes.
And then you found the yellow brick road, right? The way to like back.
Well, I had the
monetary-
road. We just had to find some lion, fight some monkeys. There was a poppy field involved, and there was a farmer. It was crazy.
Oh, I
Weird
thought it was
farmer.
always a like monetary
Uncle
myth
Owen.
about backing the dollar with the gold standard. I was
Yes.
so confused this whole
We're getting
time.
way off.
All right, Monopoly Man, take it easy.
But it's all right. Pre-prohibition style, meaning that they're using recipes from a long time ago.
It happened
At least
before Prohibition.
before Prohibition. And those that don't know what that is, that was something that happened in the early 1900s where they said
black day.
it was where they religious people said, hey, we don't want anyone drinking because it causes bad things to happen. And so the government passed some weird laws saying you couldn't consume or sell alcohol. Needless to say, it didn't really stop many people.
It created
It
NASCAR.
drove up
It,
consumption.
it drove consumption up.
It created
because-
NASCAR.
Yes, it did. It created
did,
NASCAR because there were people that were running liquor.
And they had to get faster, more well-suspended cars, and
Correct.
they discovered, oh, well, now it's legal, but we love driving fast and trying to take each other out. Let's just do this for fun.
They do.
There's also the enduring popularity of Canadian whiskey, which was significantly helped during Prohibition as well.
I imagine, yes. So this style of porter just uses real base, approachable ingredients that aren't super fancy and new.
Yeah, yeah.
They've been around. The hops have been around a long time. It doesn't say the exact hop strain they use, but I imagine it was probably a British style because it was just really, really secondary, really light, very low profile on the hops.
It was pretty good. Didn't quite nail the movie. I could drink this with,
Something else.
yeah, I'm trying to think of the genre I'd go with. Like a 90s action movie, 80s action movie, something just easy to watch, easy
Teenage
to drink.
Mutant Ninja Turtles
Well, that's just art.
Like Cliffhanger, maybe?
Yeah, cliffhanger.
or somebody jumping off a cliff.
Like in Ninja Turtles. Yeah, we're on the same page.
Oh, no, Speed.
There you go.
How about Speed 2? There's a boat.
Oh, there's a boat in Speed 2. I didn't know that.
My favorite Simpsons joke is when Otto, the bus driver, is like blasting through the city, driving real fast, and Milhouse goes, "This is like Speed 2, but with a bus instead of a boat."
Oh, jeez.
It's a flawless joke, and I love it.
That is flawless.
Anyway, that next flawless beer, Dan, because we keep getting off topic.
Yes, we do. So the second beer we had an ESB, which is a extra special bitter, but it's not necessarily meaning it's more bitter. It's just meaning they use special ingredients that were more expensive.
You got more participation trophies.
Correct. And so this was an ESB that was nitro out of the can. So nitro meaning it was half CO2, half nitro mix.
Mm-hmm.
And it means it's going to be creamier, smoother, lighter. It's not going to be as dense. It's going to be not as sharp. And needless to say, it's magic. We don't know how the hell they did it.
Because Guinness has the little ball in each
Yeah,
can that
nitro ball.
activates the
Correct.
the effect. But this one is just open, pour, and it's empty.
Yeah.
It was creamy and delicious. It
Yes.
was really
Yeah.
nice.
I
So-
think it was all of our favorites.
Yes,
for the
Away
film.
Days Brewing. Thank you. And I know those guys. They focus a lot on British styles, and they do really well. They have a bunch of different. They have like 5 different cask pours at their brewery location, their tap room, and next door they also have a soccer kind of cafe restaurant place that also has.
It feels like a pub.
It's a British pub.
Feels like a proper pub.
Yeah, and they do cask pours as well as nitro in there as well. So check them out. They're down in Southeast off of. The really nice thing about ESBs is it's toffee, honey, sweet. It's just a really nice, mild beer in general. They can range in ABV content. This one had about 5%. This should be really, really low bitters or none at all. You shouldn't notice any hop profile, or if you do, it'll be just very dry, leafy, just kind of very gentle. You shouldn't have very much of it, any bitterness at all on the profile.
If you have a lot of bitterness, does that essentially change the style, or
It's
is
a
it
different
just
style then.
a poorly made ESB?
Well, I mean, if they call it ESB and it's bitter, then it's not an ESB. You're just here in America. You can call anything you want, anything you want. So,
Like the Italian Pilsner.
yes, there are made up styles that don't really exist when you look at the regulations or what you would call the Beer Judge Certification Program, which provides a guideline for beer styles for most judging across the world.
But most producers, they must find some advantage to being rational in their naming conventions because you want your
Correct.
customers to have some accurate expectation of what the product is going to be.
Correct. But in the beer world, it doesn't matter. You can call it, we've seen some pretty squirrely, weird name beers, and you're like, it doesn't even say what it is. It just has a name on it. And you're just like, well, what is it? We don't know. Just try it.
Squirrely beer.
The toilet.
Brian, you've been kind of silent here about the beers. What was your thought on the second beer on the ESB?
I really enjoyed the second beer, the ESB. I thought it was amazing and magical that when you open the can, it had a lot of froth come up.
It poured like a normal nitro pour would.
Yeah,
weird.
and there was no little gadget inside like Guinness to make it foam up. I really enjoyed it. It went down easy. It was smooth. It was flavorful. I don't love a lot of hoppy flavor, and it definitely had
I'm there with you.
very little of that.
Yeah.
So definitely, I liked it the best of the 3.
Very cool. I think we're thumbs up all around the board on that
Yeah,
one. And
yeah.
I think It was the one that went the best because the last beer that we had, which was like the last 7 minutes of the film,
It is good. It just didn't match the post-apocalyptic magic versus technology tone.
Yeah.
So, and I think the color of the beer helped with the matching as well, because the nitro was so dark, and so much of this film was dark, shadowy, dark, faceless hordes stomping around. Like this makes sense.
Yeah, it was a kind of a heavy theme.
Yeah. If it wasn't good versus evil, if there wasn't these call outs to Nazism, if there wasn't, you call it to,
Like
nation
the-
of people,
the genocide.
genocidal.
yeah.
Yeah. This beer is too light and crisp for
Yeah.
a genocidal movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let's get more into this beer.
It was
All right.
tasty and citrus.
Yeah, so
Citrusy.
it's a beer called Hop Massive, and it's from Threshold Brewing and Blending, which is down in Southeast, like 80th and Stark, or maybe 78th and Stark. Small home brewers that decided to go big, and they've made some really amazing beers. And this is one of the ones that they make in both a regular and a fresh hopped version. This is not the fresh hopped version because those are they are only put out a very small amount because they're so expensive to make with all the fresh hops. Hop Massive is a hazy micro IPA. Micro meaning very small, meaning not a lot of alcohol.
3.3%.
Yep, that's it.
And that's the magic in it, because it doesn't taste. It tastes like a full on real hazy.
Like when you finish one glass, you're going to be feeling it.
And
It
you
tastes
don't.
like it,
Yeah,
but you're not.
It smells very lemony. I mean, the aromatics are really, really beautiful. And then the first sip is very dry, acidic lemon, a little bit of citrus, like citra hop. So I'll read what's on the bottom of the can here if I can take my glasses off.
Dan's going to start speaking in Aramaic. We're all going to start bleeding from the
All right.
eyes.
So a hop crazy hazy micro IPA, immoderately. I don't know what that word is. The first time I've ever read it.
Immoderately?
EMO?
No, immoderately, yeah. IMMODERATELY.
to excess, not moderate.
Yes, the opposite of being moderate. Double dry hopped with Citra Eldorado and Mosaic. A small beer for massive hop lovers. The Eldorado is going to give it that kind of grapefruit to sometimes people say pineapple flavor. A little citrus. The Mosaic is going to give it that dank kind of back end that's going to sit on the tongue and be really dry. And then the Citra is going to be that citrus, lemony, maybe even orange.
I'm not a hop head, but I enjoyed this beer. And of the three, if I'm buying one regularly, it's probably the Hop Massive here. Especially for summer drinking.
Oh, this is a summer beer. Yeah. This is a porch beer right here. I'm going to sit in front of the fire pit and have about 6 of these because it's only 3.3%. So it's low in calories.
It was a nice beer.
Yeah.
It didn't match the film very well.
Oh, not at all.
I agree.
But
It was tasty.
I enjoyed the citrus in it. And, as we found out last episode, I don't like a lot of citrus in my beer.
These beers were purchased at a bunch of different locations at both Mac Wine Cellars. We got the Hop Massive from them, and then we got the first beer we got. Actually, I bought last night at the brewery itself over on Northeast Deacon. The second one, I believe, I bought over at Bridgetown Beer Cellars.
One of these was Bridgetown. I think it was the Away Days.
Yeah, it was the Away Days. That one's available both, I think, at like Fred Meyer and maybe New Seasons. They've started producing enough that they can be found in the bigger grocery stores on occasion. I know a lot of the bottle shops have them. This one, I know that ESB, I think, from my perspective, is one of their better beers. It's very clean and approachable for non-beer drinkers. It's not offensive. So,
Yeah.
And the fact that they can do nitro out of, it's nitro. When I say nitro, it's not pure nitrous oxide.
It's
it is
magic.
It's a half CO2, half nitro mix, and maybe they've pumped up the nitro on it when they do the canning, or they purge the can first. Who knows? I mean, I don't know what magic they're doing, but it's magical.
Magic.
Do we want to?
I have a pitch
We have a pitch for something.
to not do the movie beer name rename game, but instead get into it. The top mage standoffs.
Okay, yeah.
Because I got a few written down.
Yes, I see that.
Full spoilers for this movie. The wizard to wizard standoff of the two twin brothers, Avatar versus Black Wolf, is phenomenal. It's incredible. It's budget savvy. One gets shot.
Yeah, he pulls out hey, my mom showed us something when you weren't around, and he pulls a gun out and shoots him twice. It's like, dude.
I had this idea when we started watching.
But
and then
for
when
a
it happened,
film where it's technology versus magic, and technology bad, magic good, the good guy uses technology in the end to defeat the bad guy.
Yeah, bad against bad.
Against
That's
bad.
understandable.
And so I started wondering, what are some of the best mage duels in animated and just general fantasy films? And the first one I wrote down was Merlin versus Madame Mim from Disney's Sword in the Stone. Does anybody else remember this?
No.
No.
I was like 5 when I saw.
It's
Sword
I've
of the
seen it a
Stone.
bunch. It's so good. Merlin and Madame Mim keep turning to different creatures. It's like a squirrel versus bird, and then cat versus squirrel, then dog versus cat, and then dragon versus. It's so fun. It's such a great animated Disney feature. Every time I'd see it after like a big rainstorm at home, like where I was growing up, the sun would start coming out around when King Arthur got the sword. Like this is, I mean, it's weather, but I thought it was magic.
Yeah, no. It's cool.
The second one, Dumbledore versus Voldemort. I don't know a lot about this one because I don't read a lot of Harry Potter. But one's Ralph Fiennes, thou knows, and the other is Michael Gambon.
Correct. And so the interesting thing is actually Dumbledore doesn't. He taught Voldemort. So there's not really one against the other in it. It is I taught you and I screwed up because you turned evil.
But that's a pretty fun dynamic. The kid I taught, it's very the latest Star Wars run is, I taught this guy and he turned out bad. I messed up.
Yeah, I mean that's what the whole next TV series is going to be about. Is hey, we're gonna babysit his kids and make sure they don't go evil too.
And don't worry, guys. I saved one that we can all get into. Gandalf versus Saruman.
I was expecting that one. I was expecting.
Yeah.
As I triumphantly close my iPad case.
It's on top of.
Dude threw Gandalf across the room. You don't do that. He's old.
know.
He's got bad hips.
Hey, but he saw the moth and he talked to the moth and the moth flew off and the moth came back with a big old bird. I mean, come on, you can't
right.
beat that.
Good versus evil. Good wins in the end.
Yes, especially when you're
Again.
brown and not
Again.
gray.
I also like that. Wasn't Saruman white when Gandalf and he first faced off? And you're thinking, oh no, but it's like how the stormtroopers are white, and oh man, and then Gandalf just solos that boss fight and farms all the XP.
Yes.
What, he was Gandalf the Gray, didn't he?
And then he
proceed?
farmed.
to
And he
Gandalf
fought
the
that.
White.
Yeah.
Then
Fought that Balrog.
The Balrog and then got all the XP because, if you know the old school rules, whoever lands the last blow and did the most damage gets all the XP.
That's right.
And he leveled up.
So not technically wizards, but if we were going to say Obi-Wan Kenobi, and
I'll take it.
Like because using
And
the
Darth Maul.
Force is kind of yeah.
I couldn't help. I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah, Obi-Wan versus Darth Vader.
That's where I was going.
Classic.
Yeah. I was going to say, and there's magic elements. It's magic adjacent, right?
It's very adjacent. Well, the Jedi were called magic. They use magic.
Right.
Yeah. Magic. Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me.
The Force is definitely not technology.
It is not, but you can use technology to test for it.
Depending on the what you
How many Mandalorians do you
I was
have?
about to say, depending on what canon you follow, it's biological.
Yeah, well, it could be. Not always, though. Unless you're like the great-granddaughter of some super evil dude and you do a whole film franchise around you.
But that's for another episode.
Yeah, that's another.
It really is.
That's a different movie.
I was going to say, I can't really think of any other wizard battles. I mean, I've seen a lot of films, but none of them come to mind.
Willow.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen Willow since I was a kid. I can
me-
watch that
no,
again.
me either.
There's
Mad Mardigan,
Merlin
right?
and Morgana in Excalibur,
Yeah.
That's right.
or the general Arthurian mythology.
Right.
Or if you see the most recent Disney reboot of that, it's Morgana versus the kid with the shoes.
Fred Savage.
Primordial.
What are you talking about?
You've not seen that
I'm
Disney
so
reboot?
confused.
It's
Kid with the shoes.
The Flash? Sonic the Hedgehog?
Who's got shoes?
Everybody's got shoes, unless you're in a third
has-
world country.
Come on, it's got Nick
Keebler
Cage.
elves?
It's got Nick Cage in it. Come on. You have
I don't
no
watch
idea what
everything
I'm
by Nick
talking about.
Cage.
Oh my god.
I love it, but I don't watch all of
Oh,
it.
Dan, I'm lost.
Pig.
Sorry.
What?
Yeah, Pig, the movie with about the kid with the shoes. Wait, chase down that pig.
Nick Cage was in Pig.
Yeah.
Wait, is this Babe? No.
That'll do, shoes. That'll do.
Okay, it's called The Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Oh, that one.
Yes. And it came out in 2010. And yes, it's a Disney film. And yes, the younger kid who's the last descendant
Who is the
of
actor,
Merlin.
Dan?
Leaving Las Vegas.
Leave me alone.
Face Off. No, Adaption.
His name is Dave
Willy's Wonderland.
Stutler, Stutler.
He probably hasn't done a lot. of film.
The character's name is Jay Baruchel.
Oh, Baruchel. Oh, Jay Baruchel. That's the actor.
Yeah,
Canadian actor. He's great. Plays Hard Right Jay on Letterkenny.
true.
That was a fun train wreck we just had. I had a good time, boys.
Yes. Thanks for listening in, everybody. I mean, this has been a
Or
fun
apologies.
episode. This has been a fun
Sorry.
episode for us. check out the movie Wizards. You can probably find it on a streaming platform or
Oh,
go
yeah.
buy it on VHS because I'm sure it's still out there somewhere.
It just came out on Blu-ray.
Did it? Oh,
Really?
nice. Oh,
That's the
nice.
move.
Very cool.
Do you know if there's a bunch of extra features or anything?
I have no idea.
Listeners, buy it and tell us.
Check it out. And you know, if you're going to watch a film like this, find something that is going to hold your attention because it went by really fast. The movie went by fast, and we're
It
like,
did.
oh, hey,
Yeah.
we need to like have another sip of the next one. Oh, yeah. So here we go.
Thoroughly enjoyable hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we all enjoyed the film. I think we all liked
Yes.
the beers, but I think the ESB went the best because
Yeah.
it was the most approachable
I
for
say
all of
something
us.
smooth, something with a bit of character to it.
Definitely. And, you know, if you don't hydrate,
Hydrate.
yeah, I don't know. It was a kind of crackly, weird voice. Both of the wizards had weird voices.
They had very cool voices. I can't do a Peter Falk or a say it like that.
Skeletor or Peter Falk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't hydrate, you'll dihydrate.
Yes, something
Yeah,
like
that's kinda
that. So enjoy some water, enjoy something to drink. This, again, is not a kid's movie. I wouldn't recommend it. Even teenager maybe might get it, but even then, if they've...
I saw it when I was 10
Yeah.
in a theater.
Wow.
I'm old.
And it was PG. It's like PG-13, isn't it?
I don't know.
I don't think
In
it's
New
R.
Zealand, it was rated M in the
I don't know if
theater.
they had PG-13 in 77.
Might have just
Nope,
been PG.
it wasn't until
Predates.
84 when, or maybe 86.
Yeah.
It was with Gremlins and Temple of Doom and all that when they were ripping out hearts and exploding creatures in microwaves. They realized we should probably have something between kids and adults.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
This, I think, would just be a PG because there's violence, cartoon violence, but kids see that on cartoons every day. It's not that violent compared to... I mean,
Yeah.
the film footage is... Yes, there is Nazi propaganda film footage from World War II that's
Frankly,
interspersed.
if you're a fan of animation, check it out.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
very cool.
Very cool film.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This is, Moving to Beer. We always have wonderful opinions, and those expressed during the taping of this are those of the hosts. And, I want to say thank you for listening and hanging out.
Thanks for listening. This is Aaron.
Buy those beers and that Blu-ray and give me some money, please. This is Blake.
Thanks for listening.
All right. Take care, everybody. Have a good night.